Okay, we're gonna be here for a while. I'll tell you that right now. We've got 6 movies to review this week. So, there's a lot of things that just came out in theaters, things that haven't been in theaters very long, and there's things that have been in theaters for a while that we just got. So all of these will be covered on this video. So, AJ, take us on the ride. And that's a great way to start the review, considering what you're reviewing first.
Yeah, first thing we're going to talk about is why Twitter exploded Christmas night with all the tweets saying, wow, didn't wish I saw that with my family.
Not a family-friendly film whatsoever.
I thought its reputation had been made in all the news, because it was all over the place for a while about how originally The Wolf of Wall Street was 4 hours long.
Yeah.
And it was NC-17. And Scorsese had to cut an entire hour out of it.
That hour hopefully will come to fruition someday, because I'm very curious to see what they had to cut.
I don't know if Scorsese does the director's cut thing or not. This might be the first time he's had to. But, so yeah, the extremely highly anticipated. It was my most anticipated since it was announced last year.
It's my second.
And they kept adding people to it, to the cast list. I don't even know where to start, so I'll just begin.
Well, let me explain real quick 2 things before you get started. Number 1, we've had no walkouts yet, which is surprising given the town that we're in.
How was it? When we saw it, there was a very, very talkative old guy in the back that kept getting up for long periods of time. I don't know if he was uncomfortable or if he had a situation or maybe he was in the bathroom after all
the person with him kept getting up too. They take shifts. They get up back and forth.
And there was this poor guy. I think what happened was he was by himself, and he was against the wall.
Yeah.
And then like a whole row of people came in and sat beside him. And eventually he got up and left and went to the bathroom. And instead of going all the way back down there and working his way in, he just sat in the very back seat right behind you.
He sat right behind me. I knew it was somebody, but I wasn't positive.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't with those people down there.
No, he wasn't. The other thing I will say about this movie is I actually did a little bit of box office the other day, which is strange because I don't get to do it very much anymore because I'm usually stuck in concession because we're busy right now because it's the holidays. But when it came down to it, I actually was telling people what theater they were in, and I just simply said, leave your inhibitions at the door.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't make any judgments and enjoy the ride. Because it can be extremely offensive to people, and if you don't have like a strong will and you're like weak at heart, you're probably not going to like this movie. Actually, as a matter of fact, you probably won't be able to make it through this movie.
Well, here's the thing. When you do the thing with the time, when you say when each review is starting, you might want to start that time right about now.
That's fine, that's what I'm going to do.
Because this is what we're going to talk about the actual movie now. The thing about this that a lot of people, I think is causing the misconception about what people are in for when they go into this movie, is they expect basically like Wall Street.
Yeah.
Basically. And basically, you know, DiCaprio's character as a modern day, the Jordan Belfort was highly influenced by Gordon Gekko. So.
That even is mentioned in the movie too.
So, and of course, you know, obviously when you're when you're in that lifestyle, you tend to get into the drugs and the sex and the prostitutes and everything.
Yes.
And all the crazy shit. I think people are expecting that it'll be more of a Wall Street movie with the sex and the drugs. But it's basically a sex and drugs movie that has Wall Street in it.
Yes.
It's
secondary.
It's not about so much what he does as the lifestyle that it created for him.
Correct.
So, and yeah, obviously I read the book, which is this... You wouldn't fucking believe the stuff he admits to in this book. This guy's... Let me talk about DiCaprio for a second while we're on Jordan Belfort, the real person. Who's in the movie, by the way, at the very end. He's doing the... he introduces DiCaprio on the stage. I read the book, and then I started looking up YouTube videos of the guy. Like giving speeches or doing interviews or whatever. Because he's basically like a motivational speaker now.
He's Frank T.J. Maxx.
Which makes perfect sense when you see how he handled Wall Street. But I've always loved DiCaprio as an actor.
Yeah, same here.
And I understand where people are coming from when they say the self-serious thing. How there's so many roles where it's just like he's just trying to or taking himself way too seriously. So after I read the book and I started watching clips of Jordan Belfort, my mind immediately said, this is like one of the most larger-than-life human beings I've ever seen.
Definitely.
Is DiCaprio going to be able to do this? Is he going to be able to... You just have to just completely go balls out if you're going to become this guy. Because this, like... I don't even know how to describe this guy in a few words. But then the trailer came out, and I heard that DiCaprio had the voice. That was a good start. And basically you will see reviews saying that this is pretty much DiCaprio like you've never seen him before. Like everybody was saying, this is an interesting thing to point out. This movie by genre is a comedy.
Definitely, it's easily the funniest movie in theaters right now.
We have these movies like American Hustle that are primarily like more or less a crime drama.
Yeah.
But they have so many comedic elements you could call them a comedy. Mm-hmm. That's what they're both running in the comedy category of the Globes, which normally the Globes are kind of whatever on, but they actually you could pass this off as a comedy a lot more than American Hustle actually. And people have been always saying, well, you know, maybe I'd like DiCaprio better if he stopped taking himself so seriously and just did a completely off-the-wall comedy role. Well, believe it or not, this is that far.
This is definitely it.
Most of all, in a scene that everybody online is talking about. This is the one go-to scene that everybody wants to talk about. Mm-hmm. This particular moment where... I remember reading this in the book and just wondering how this would turn out on screen, but... Jonah Hill's character, who is fucking insane, manages to get these Quaaludes, which is basically Jordan Belfort's go-to drug.
Yes.
Takes them for his back.
Yeah.
But they're like expired, so they just keep taking them while they're watching Family Matters. And they just keep taking them to try to get some kind of buzz out of them. And nothing's working, and then he goes to this country club to call Bo Dietl, who's playing himself, by the way, which was very interesting. And then they all kick in, and they're very, like, their potency is, like, sky high. They're just delayed. So, there's this whole long segment where DiCaprio hits the floor and has to get out of the country club, down the steps, and into his car and home. Because Jonah Hill's doing something he shouldn't be.
That's a good way to not spoil it. Good job.
And this is just like this... It's a kind of slapstick that you would never expect out of a Scorsese movie, let alone from DiCaprio.
Yeah, no lie.
This movie is all kinds of unexpected if you're not like... if you don't know a shitload about it going in. Take, for instance, the small amount of screen time for McConaughey.
Yeah.
Which I knew was going to happen because his character's mentioned in the book maybe 3 times. Like, this big lunch scene is only mentioned, like, in passing in the book. It's like, he mentions that he snorted cocaine at the table in front of everybody, and then the book just kind of went on. Because so much was, like... Most of this movie was... Much like American Hustle, this movie was mostly improv.
Oh, yeah, you could definitely tell.
I read somewhere that the beating on the chest and humming was McConaughey just doing that.
The part
and they bring it.
the trailer.
They actually bring it back later in the movie.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the movie.
So McConaughey's in this for maybe 5 minutes, and it's probably one of the best performances in the movie.
Yes.
Maybe of his exploding career. I want to particularly point out, I love, like, McConaughey just has this delivery about him where he was just... Basically, this big scene involves him monologuing about getting drunk and masturbating. Not at the same time. Two separate monologues. I particularly love the line, I want you to bring me and my friend drinks. And then 7.5 minutes from now, I want you to bring us more drinks. And then I want you to bring us drinks every 5 minutes until one of us passes the fuck out. But McConaughey has such a smooth delivery of that. You can kind of tell with the improv because it just kind of... There's these monologues after monologues, and they just spill out of the actors' mouths.
They work so well.
Do we discuss Jonah Hill now?
Well, I think we'll just go down the cast like bit by bit.
Well, I was very excited to see Jonah Hill's performance because after reading the book, the guy that he's based on, I wonder if I can say his real name. I might as well.
There's a book that exists, so I would say so.
Yeah, Donnie Azov is actually Danny Porish, and they actually kept all the real names in the script. They changed them in the production process. And this guy is so fucking insane. The goldfish scene really happened. That's in the book. Now, I will go ahead and say this. As far the public masturbating, when we are first introduced to Naomi, that was actually McConaughey in real life.
Yeah.
But I guess they couldn't bring McConaughey back for another day. He was busy.
It was like how Pain and Gain had Dwayne Johnson's stuff was done by someone else in the real story.
Yeah, Dwayne Johnson was like a composite character in Pain and Gain.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's also I don't want to say too. It's not a spoiler or anything, but I don't want to spoil the scene or anything.
Yeah, I agree.
There is a moment involving Jonah Hill receiving CPR. What happened in real life and what happened in the movie are two totally different things in that. I don't know why they went with what they did in the movie because it's just something that happens. But in the book and in real life, he almost drowned, and that's why Jordan had to give him CPR in the pool. It was during a pool party, I think. So they felt the CPR had to be in there, but they totally moved it to a totally different context.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discussion on Margot Robbie right now. There's some people saying that she's a revelation and she's going to be huge, and there's some people saying she was trying for Lorraine Bracco in Goodfellas and turned into a second-rate version of Sharon Stone in Casino. I don't know how I feel about her yet. I was hoping to have seen this a second time by the time we did this review, but it didn't fall into place.
It would have happened if it would have been for certain plans.
So I don't know where I stand with her yet. I don't recall. Nothing in my mind said she was bad.
No, she wasn't
bad. So that's a start. But there's so many characters to keep track of in this movie. You have to see it multiple times if you want to have a good grasp on how a character was or how they worked. A lot of the complaints is the fact that none of the characters are fully developed and it's just all crazy sex and drugs and all that. A lot of people, it was very popular to call it, and after the pre-screenings, most critics just referred to it as a 3-hour porn and dismissed it as such. I can't
get on that bandwagon.
I won't say it's a 3-hour porn, but I can't necessarily tell them... I can't get on my high horse and tell them they're wrong, per se.
Yeah.
Because it is pretty pervasive.
Yeah, completely.
I want to talk about Kyle Chandler now.
Okay. He's
not here very much, but...
He's very important.
What I really loved was this scene on the yacht. Where he finally... We keep seeing him and we know what he does, but we only cut to him for a second, just so we establish him. But then finally he gets this scene where he goes to talk to Jordan on the yacht. And it's this really great thing where they're being very friendly with each other. And then as the conversation starts to unfold as to why Kyle Chandler is there and how much DiCaprio is just trying to throw it in his face. It didn't happen this way in the movie, but I love the way the trailer was edited. where he says you just tried to bribe a federal agent, and he just laughs in his face.
Yeah.
But as this conversation progresses, they keep the friendly tones, but they're talking about their opposing sides. Like, DiCaprio saying he has nothing, and Kyle Chandler saying he's going to lock his ass up. And then this progresses into Jordan getting a little more hostile as they leave, but the whole scene is great.
Totally.
Throwing the lobsters at them and then throwing money at them.
Like, here's a year's salary, and he tosses it right at him.
Yeah, that was a little dangerous, though, after the whole being accused of bribery thing.
Yeah.
We have Rob Reiner, who is Mad Max, who is Jordan's dad.
So awesome to see him back on the silver screen again.
Well, what's great about this character is Rob Reiner is a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
So when he's going on a tirade, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And his introduction is he's trying to watch The Equalizer, which apparently has Steve Buscemi in.
Yeah, Buscemi is not the Equalizer that I'm aware of.
He was probably a guest spot or something. Because of the Boardwalk Empire connection, Scorsese probably pulled that scene out specifically from whatever episode it was.
Yep. There it is.
But anyway, he goes on these massive tirades, and then he'll be able to do this thing where he can go right into a sophisticated mode, so much so that he uses a British accent without even realizing it.
Yeah, I know how that goes.
There is John Bernthal, who was Shane on The Walking Dead. But he's in a lot of, he's starting to show up in a lot of other things, like a movie we're going to talk about soon.
Same with McConaughey. We're bookending this video almost.
He is this character named Brad, he's got the tough facial hair, and he's almost always got his shirt off. Taking a page out of McConaughey's book. Basically, to discuss him, we'll talk about a story Jonah Hill was telling on Letterman, where apparently the scene where Bernthal punches Jonah Hill, apparently they were, he was throwing the punches, but Scorsese was just saying it just doesn't look real. And then there was some thinking, and then he just kind of turns to Jonah Hill and says, "What if he just really hit you? Just for one take?" And it was hilarious because obviously DiCaprio is also standing there in that scene. And Jonah Hill said he was basically waiting for DiCaprio to step in and say, "You know what, Marty, maybe that's too much. We can find another way around this."
Nope.
Reportedly, according to Jonah Hill, when he looked to DiCaprio to see if he would break it up, DiCaprio just kind of looked in the other direction.
I'd love to have been a fly on the wall to hear that legitimate conversation.
So the take we see in the movie is Bernthal punching Jonah Hill for real, apparently so much so that his big fake teeth actually flew out of his mouth. And then Scorsese filmed him laying there on the ground because his face was starting to swell.
That's how it works.
Everybody else is kind of throwaway. There's a mentionable thing about Spike Jonze.
Yes.
Spike Jonze has one thing. The director, that Spike Jonze, being a Malkovich adaptation, and Her, and Where the Wild Things Are, and Jackass. He just has this one scene where Jordan goes to work at this place, and he has this. It's just one funny scene, but it's worth noting.
Yeah.
I think the last person we're going to talk about as far as cast is Jean.
Yeah.
Jean Dujardin from The Artist, Academy Award winner.
Yes.
Who we're also going to see in the Monuments Men soon.
He's actually in the trailer. This new trailer.
This was basically the perfect casting choice. He's playing Jean-Jacques Sorel, which is a fake name they took from the book. He actually says in the book, by the way, this is a fake name, just to be safe. And he is this basically banker in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And they're going to do the secret bank accounts thing to hide his money. And basically just get involved with that. But the way he plays this character, he doesn't show up till about 2 hours in.
Yeah. I was waiting for him the whole time too.
And he's just got this, I don't want to sound like I'm insulting him or anything, but to be totally honest, as smooth as he was in The Artist, I think the reason the character in The Artist works so well and why he really works well here is, I hear he's a really nice guy too.
Yeah.
But, just looking at him, he's got such a slimy quality to him.
You don't want to trust him with anything.
And there's this great moment where when we first meet him, or it might have been a couple scenes later, he and DiCaprio are sitting across from each other, and they're basically insulting each other in their minds, and you can hear it's almost like they're having a conversation telepathically.
It's really funny too.
Telepathically. Not telepathy, the other word. No, it is. Yes. Yeah. I was confused. It is telepathy. Good.
Woo.
Fuck it.
Save. It's not late right now or early, so no excuses.
Yeah, it's worth noting that 3 directors are actually in this as actors, with Rob Reiner, Spike Jonze, and Favreau plays their lawyer. He's got like 2 scenes. And he's got Walt Disney's mustache from Saving Mr. Banks.
Yeah. Getting ready for Magic Kingdom.
Alright, so to all the impatient people, let me just sum this up as best I can. This movie is exactly what I wanted it to be and what I thought it would be. This movie is balls out fucking insane from beginning to end. The great thing about this movie is, of course I read the book and the script and all that. I knew everything going in, but
if you don't,
it's just so incredible to just watch the shit that happens. Just the crazy ass shit that just happens scene after scene. It's like when you think they're, like, as far as pushing the envelope, like, you think they've reached a point, like, oh my god, they're not gonna top that, that was fucking insane. Like, oh my, I heard this movie was insane, but I just watched Jonah Hill masturbate in public. It cannot get any crazier than that. And then it just keeps going.
If you think it's getting wild, you haven't seen anything. 5 minutes later, it's completely different.
And most of it really happened is the most insane thing.
Yeah.
Like, the guy is totally, like... The guy is larger than life and has the lifestyle to match it.
Yeah.
To say the least. We see him almost crash a helicopter. We see him almost crash an entire boat. And,
that was good.
Not to mention the plane explosion. And just the shit gets crazier as it goes. And it's just a marvel.
It's an incredible movie.
So much so, and what I loved about this was watching the early reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it would screen for critics or Academy members or whatever. Or just, I don't know if test screenings, would you call them? I don't know, but people were coming out of this movie repulsed.
Yes.
They were just like, oh my god, what was that? Some guy actually said he came out of the Wolf of Wall Street and wanted to go straight home and take a shower because he felt so dirty. And when I was hearing these comments, they weren't pleased either. They were pissed off that the movie was so dirty and disgusting. And I was basking in these reviews because this is what I was expecting.
This is what you wanted too.
I wanted it to be as repulsive and disgusting as possible. And that's pretty much what we got.
100%.
And it's just amazing to behold. The whole thing.
But the thing is, though, like I said at the beginning of the review, it's kind of like you do have to check your inhibitions at the door. You can't really... You have to understand what you're getting yourself into.
There are 2 things involving assholes.
Yes.
A candle is stuck up an asshole, and coke is snorted out of an asshole.
Yes.
And the camera does not shy away either.
No.
After how hard he fought to get that R rating, I'm really surprised he still got it. I don't know how long...
It's borderline. It has to be.
I don't know how long this was NC-17. I'm pretty sure... I can see, like, there's just, like... NC-17 is over here, and rated R is over here. And there is, like, a millisecond of film right here in between them. And that's all it took to just barely... Like, it's not like, oh, it's NC-17, we're gonna take a shitload of stuff out. Okay, now we're rated R. I think he was on as close to the line of NC-17 as you can possibly get.
I think he's 1 foot over the line, actually. And if he was both foot over the line, he'd be on that line, but...
I know they're extremely, extremely, extremely thorough and anal and all that, no pun intended.
This film is not yet rated is a great documentary that shows that.
I seriously felt like there was some stuff the MPAA had to have missed.
Yeah. Okay, we've watched this 35 times. Can we just give him the R rating? Come on.
Yeah, with this being 3 hours and sometimes 4 hours, and how many times the MPA had to overlook it, I wonder how many times and how many hours they've spent on this movie.
They hired this guy named Stan. His job was just to watch The Wolf of Wall Street on a loop for like 6 months and nitpick everything.
I think that guy fell asleep when Jonah Hill's prosthetic dick popped out.
It's a very good possibility. That automatically gets you an NC-17 nowadays.
Yeah. It's like when we were talking about Paul Thomas Anderson doing Scorsese when he did Boogie Nights. Scorsese is going to Paul Thomas Anderson's going to, like, you know, compensate the favor and, like, give him the Dirk Diggler's prosthetic dick to put in the Wolf of Wall Street somewhere. There's also a lot of familiar faces you'll see that are there for, like, a few seconds. Like Christine Ebersol is one. I don't think she even got a line.
No.
Shea Wiggum from Boardwalk Empire. And a bunch of movies we've been seeing lately.
Yeah.
He's in American Hustle, too. He's there for like 30 seconds. He's just driving the yacht in the storm. That's it. That's
a great scene, too. Like the waves coming over the boat and everything. That was nice.
Ethan Suplee was in there.
Yeah.
Just everything.
Joanna Lumley from Absolutely Fabulous.
So... Yeah, the editing works really well too. There's it's a compliment, but it's not a compliment. It's a criticism and a compliment, I guess.
Okay.
I'm kind of just putting them all into one sentence.
That'll work.
The great thing about this movie is it's great when a movie never feels its length, but there was a moment when the movie started to feel 3 hours.
Really?
But it was like at the 2 hour and 40 minute mark. So it was like, it's like the movie's 3 hours long, it's got 20 minutes left, it started to feel its length. It's like, if a movie's 3 hours long and you finally started to feel the length at 2:40, that's still good.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's, yeah, just, I know your family or whoever saw this before you is probably saying, oh my god, please don't. But this is a movie you have to see to believe.
Exactly. Okay, if you don't know anything about it going in, like you're not watching trailers or anything, what would you give as an opinion to how you go into this movie?
I had to do that before I left today because my grandpa really wants to see it.
Yeah, you told me the story and I was like,
And I told my grandma what it really is. And I, in the best possible way I could, I tried to tell her all the content.
Oh, boy.
I'm trying to tell my grandma what happens in the Wolf of Wall Street. This was an interesting task.
I'm sure it was.
But the thing is I told her. She said after I told her, she said, "Okay, I have made my decision. I will never do this." But I told her that number one, if they know what they're getting into, maybe they'll be okay.
Yeah.
Because the people that are reacting horribly, I don't think realize what it is going in.
Don't realize the length either. I know a lot of people are not getting that either.
And I told her, well, number one, I told her I really wanted them to go because I just want to see how they react.
Of course.
And number two, it's just, that's all you can really say is you just have to see it to believe it. You just go and see what happens. If you walk out, fine. If you stay, better. But that's the thing that you have to point out, is that you have these people coming out. Normally they're older people. Mm-hmm. And they say, oh my god, that was a 3-hour porno. Oh my god, that was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh my god, I need a blessing from God right now to cleanse my soul after seeing that. But these people saying this stayed for the whole 3 hours.
That's right.
So that should account for something.
I was disgusted. How long did you stay? 2 hours. Why'd you stay 2 hours? There's 15 minutes of the movie.
There was a guy.
You could be
there was
done.
a guy online. There is the easily offended. This is hilarious. You got the drugs. You got the sex. You got the nudity. You've got the human crevices. You've got everything going on.
I think I know where this is headed.
I did read about a guy who walked out really early because he was offended by the introduction of Jonah Hill's character. When they go to the bar and Jonah Hill discusses how he's married to his cousin and his children, and what he would do if one of his children didn't come out right.
That was a funny line, actually.
Yeah, people in our theater were just cracking up. But
yeah, it was absolutely hilarious.
Apparently in a theater somewhere, somebody was writing about it online, they witnessed it. Somebody heard that and got offended and left. So, I guess it just depends on who you are. The language may just offend people. They may be able to take the sex and the drugs and all that, but the fact that the movie's 3 hours long and the word fuck is said in probably I'd say almost every sentence.
I would say that's a really good bet. I really wish...
You pretty much get every bad word there is.
And every sort of... It's the most usage in any Scorsese movie. It's 506.
It surpassed Casino.
Wow.
That was a big thing to jump.
I'm looking at some of this stuff here.
But, so I think that pretty much sums that up, doesn't it? Am I missing anything?
I'm looking through some of this awesome stuff.
So yeah, because for some reason there are people out there that can take pretty much everything and not language, so.
Yeah, I mean...
There's something in it, they use every word. There's both C words that you know are in here.
Yes, numerous times.
And DiCaprio even has a monologue about, that's basically the language of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it is. So, it's normal.
Yeah, definitely.
So...
There's billions of dollars on the line daily. Yes, normal.
Okay. This might sound like a reason to not see it. But to be totally honest, I guess because I'm so sick, it just makes me love the movie even more to be able to say this. There is something in this movie that will offend everybody.
Correct.
Every offensive ground is covered. Mm-hmm. I didn't mention the gay orgy yet.
Yeah.
It's only there for a minute, but it's there.
It's there.
So yes. You're gonna be offended by something. Unless you absolutely are ready to be embraced with nothing but offensive material for 3 hours and bask in it.
And that's how you take it.
Just like Jordan Belfort himself did.
Exactly.
So you could call this a positive review, you could call it a warning, you could call it whatever you want.
It's all of the above.
I'm just telling you to go and just see. Like I said, I don't mind if you walk out, I don't mind if you hate it, I don't mind if you love it, I don't mind if you see it over and over again. I just want you to go see it just to see what happens.
This weekend, it's very, very close to taking the box office.
Yeah.
And we want this to happen. So if you're out there and you're apprehensive, go watch it. Take money away from The Hobbit. We would appreciate it. So this movie can be number one in the box office where it belongs.
So...
And we go completely to a different level of movie after that.
The next movie is one that you've probably taken your family to. Probably one you should have taken your family to. You should have gone to Wolf of Wall Street later by yourself and said, you know what, family, we'll go to Walter Mitty later.
Yeah.
We're talking about The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is it was a very popular book, apparently.
Correct.
Which I never read.
I actually did read it in school.
But it's also a classic movie starring, as Clark Griswold said, Danny fucking Kaye.
Yes.
I saw that movie, but I really don't remember much about it. I remember it just kind of went in and out.
This was the time that I remember Jim Carrey was originally attached to this movie a long time ago.
It was very minor. A part of me wants to maybe say Steve Carell might have been involved briefly, too. I don't remember. That might have been something else.
I'm looking at Jim Carrey, Owen Wilson, Mike Myers, and Sacha Baron Cohen were all considered for Walter Mitty. This was supposed to come out on 2005.
Okay. Well, let's get started. Basically, Walter Mitty is a real-life Doug Funny.
That's exactly what it is.
He, I don't know how many people who watch this video would know that show. I think most.
I think most people that would find this video would watch that.
Should I elaborate a little bit? I'll do it very quickly. Doug was an animated show on Nickelodeon about a kid who went to school and who basically lived in a fantasy world.
Correct.
And basically imagined every situation in his life as a very ridiculous scenario where he was this triumphant hero.
He was Quail Man.
Yeah. And sometimes it would be something going over the top bad, too. And to a hilarious degree.
Yes, I know all about this show.
That's basically what the character of Walter Mitty is. Or should I say that's really what the character of Doug was, because Walter Mitty's been around for a long ass time.
Correct.
And he works at Life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
The magazine. And he deals with the
negatives.
Yes.
Photography.
Okay, the actual terms have gone completely out of my head.
I got this, we're good.
And he's, well, let's talk about the plot before I go into that. Sean Penn is this reclusive photographer who sends Walter the pictures personally because he trusts him and knows him personally. And there's one picture that he says is the quintessence of life.
Correct.
But it's gone. That's the only one that's gone in the whole thing. And they really need, because it's going to be the cover of their last issue.
Their last print issue before it goes to an online magazine.
Yeah. So he basically decides, it starts with, you saw all this in the trailer.
Yeah, everything's in the trailer.
He's on the phone with the eHarmony guy played by Patton Oswalt.
Which is awesome.
And he's decided that he's going to crank up his eHarmony profile to impress Kristen Wiig by going on this adventure to find Sean Penn and find that negative.
Correct.
So he doesn't get fired, before they all get fired. And then he goes on the adventure. Cue inspirational music.
I can hear it in my head right now, actually.
It's from a different trailer, but I'm hearing it.
Yeah. That was from this trailer, actually, for me.
I'm actually hearing... Oh, this is because it was actually in the movie. I'm hearing the trailer song for Where the Wild Things Are.
Yes.
Which is actually in the goddamn movie.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Okay, I didn't think I would like this movie.
I know you didn't.
I thought it was going to be overly ambitious, overly inspirational bullshit. And I really don't like Kristen Wiig, like I said in the Anchorman review. I'm not attacking her personally, I mean, I just don't.
You don't like her roles?
Yeah. So, maybe going into this thinking it was going to be terrible helped. I don't know. I don't really know what the consensus is. But, there are some things that are... Let's start with this character. I just want to get this out of the way immediately, because this is... I know somebody who will agree with me on this. But, there's this character played by Adam Scott, who is Ben Stiller's boss. I suddenly stopped calling him Walter and calling him Ben Stiller just now.
Yeah. You do this from time to time. It's alright, don't worry about it.
Adam Scott is this... I don't know... You know those really tired characters in movies that exist just so the hero can have a big triumphant moment at the end where he overpowers an antagonist by not sinking to his level or whatever. The bully character.
Gary Cole?
That has no motivation. This is just complete and total unmotivated douchiness.
Oh yeah, completely.
Is what this character is in its entirety. That's the only reason he exists on Earth. And it's never even explained later. Even when he gets his, I guess, comeuppance. He doesn't really have a human moment where he breaks down and says, you know what? I am a cockbag. He just is what he is.
He just is what he is, exactly.
And then we leave him that way.
And of course he just happens to be Walter's boss.
And he's got the really...
ginormous tool beard.
Yeah, which is clearly fake because it's so much darker than the hair on his head.
Looks like Al Borland. I got you on that one.
I don't think so, Tim. However, I do want to... I don't know. This one's going to be all over the place.
I can tell.
I'll also talk about how much it annoyed me that his mom's played by Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah.
Okay, so the trailer comes on. We get the inspirational music. We get the Kristen Wiig story. We get him doing his thing. When he comes out of the Scorcher movie from Tropic Thunder and does the accent in his fantasy. saw Shirley MacLaine come up, and I saw that she was playing his mom. This is the first time we saw this trailer. I don't know how long ago.
It's forever
months ago.
I put Walter Mitty on so many things.
And my mind immediately went to, well, I'll bet Academy Award winner Shirley MacLaine doesn't do fucking anything in this movie. Except maybe has one scene that establishes her as an overprotective mom. Then she has a second scene where she motivates him to finish his journey. I got all this from the trailer that we saw months in advance, by the way.
Yeah.
I will or will not say that is what her character became. But you know how it goes.
Yes.
Another problem that I have is that they tried to kind of do a clever thing here, I think. I can't really tell, but I'm fixing my imaginary Rubik's Cube while I tell you this.
Oh, that's fine.
This movie is one of those movies whose plot only advances with amazing, completely unintelligible coincidences.
Yeah.
That is how the plot moves.
True.
Now, I see what they're trying to do here. Basically, you can really... This could go back to... I don't know. I have no idea the differences. Maybe this goes back to the book. I don't know. But what the movie tries to do that I saw is it takes these incredible coincidences and uses them as convenience just to get the plot moving, because there's no other way to do it. You'd be stuck in a situation like you would be in real life unless this amazing coincidence that is completely, unintelligible happens. But sometimes they try to use these as comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they try to make it funny that it's so coincidental and convenient. I could see that working in some cases, but a lot of the times you can tell we have no plausible way out of this.
We have to do
But we have to
something.
keep the movie moving.
Yeah.
Let's just be lazy and have this miracle happen.
Very true.
There were a few scenes like that, and that's really off-putting, because you really don't want to... Okay. And the thing that makes it a little more offensive is the fact that this movie has a shitload of ambition.
Yeah.
It's jumping genres, it's got this massive vision, but when it comes to the movie itself, there's a lot of laziness in it.
Yeah.
Which is really a weird unbalance.
Exactly.
However, I'll go ahead and talk about the fact that this ambition and vision goes a long way. Because this movie does look massive.
Yeah.
As massive as I really commend Stiller for the way he was there's just so much in this movie. And it actually worked. It actually didn't... There was so much ambition and vision thrown into it, and it actually didn't feel like too much.
No.
It actually, I don't even know how to say it, but these... It is not the kind of thing I was expecting out of this movie. It doesn't look like... When these movies, go balls out like this, you tend to expect it to be kind of cheap looking.
Yeah.
But you have these massive landscapes from, Greenland and Iceland. You have this... I don't really know how to put this. About 20 minutes or so into the movie, there's this massive action scene.
Yeah.
From out of nowhere.
I believe it's in the trailer too.
Pieces of it right there.
The longer trailer.
But the thing is I actually think that was supposed to be hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Which I kind of found it to be. I mean, because the fantasies are so completely elaborate and ridiculous.
Yes, of course.
And speaking of the fantasies, there's another very funny scene where he, for no reason, fantasizes a life with Kristen Wiig as Benjamin Button.
Yeah, it's so weird too.
But the scene is really funny.
Yeah, it is.
Surprisingly. Much more than it had a right to be. There's this great scene towards the end involving him. It's just this scene on its own of him. He's come back from where he needs to be. Not saying whether or not he's accomplished what he needed to do.
Yeah, of course.
And the screen turns entirely... It's not like on like a monitor. The whole screen turns into the monitor for an X-ray machine.
Mm-hmm.
And we see him going through security and everything that follows. That's a really funny and clever scene. So, basically what I'm trying to say is... And the love story between him and Kristen Wiig thing is weird because it doesn't really seem... There's not much, like... There's not really a natural thing to it.
Uh-huh.
It's just kind of suddenly happening. And when I don't know. Maybe, you know what? Fuck that. My point is... This one's really sloppy.
She has a child, and...
Yeah, there's all that.
There's the connection there, and...
An ex-husband that may or may not be back in her life. But the thing is this movie has something going really great for it and something not so much. And the product is this massive vision and all this ambition for a movie that can't match it at all in between. But it's really okay.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to ask me if I recommend it, I would say you could do much worse.
Yes.
Go ahead. I think general audiences will probably really take to it.
Definitely.
So, it's totally harmless.
Mm.
Like, it never makes you, like, you know, wish you were dead, or wish it would end, or there's a big jump there, wish it would end, wish I was dead.
There's several movies that we talk about that are like that.
But no, there's nothing, you know, painful about it.
No.
You're not gonna... It's not the end of the world if you go see it and don't like it.
Yeah.
I find it... okay, I will say this. I would say it's almost impossible to completely dislike this movie.
Yeah.
Because Stiller's performance has a lot of likability in it. The character himself has a lot of likability in him and something to root for. There's plenty to like about it. But some of that stuff that doesn't work does bring it down. So... Yeah, you'll be fine. And there's also, and speaking of the vision, there's also this, just some of the shots he gets are incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Not just the landscapes. There's one that comes to mind involving, it's just a really quick shot. It's a little gimmicky, sure, but it's a really good shot nonetheless. There's a shot at the beginning where he's looking at the roll of film, and then it dissolves into a fountain that he's sitting in front of. I thought that was a really cool shot. So, and Sean Penn. Yes. Sean Penn has one scene that is, you know... It seems like it should be a secret, but his name's in the trailer.
Yeah.
It's like his name is in big letters on the trailer. And in the first trailer, of course, the picture, you know, summoning him is... But yeah, these ramblings basically amount to... If you go see it, you'll be fine. I'm not going to push you away from it.
And Joey Slotnick's in it, so I mean, that's enough worth the money for me.
Ugh. I just realized what his name is in reverse.
Oh!
Okay. Disregard that.
I never noticed that one before.
That's this. Okay, so yeah, you know, if you want to see Walter Mitty, you should be fine. There's nothing to dislike about it. It really doesn't reach the heights that I think Stiller could have, with what his clear vision was something great, but...
And it gives you hope for his next project, too. If he's going to go that ambitious before, he can do it again.
Yeah. A lot of people like to compare it to Forrest Gump. I don't see that.
No.
At all, really. Just putting that out there.
It's Doug. That's exactly what it is.
Alright, should we go on to our next movie? We're almost an hour in already.
Oh boy.
Well, 49 minutes in, but... the next movie took us a couple of tries.
Yeah, it did.
Our next movie is Grudge Match. Which is, you know what? I want to say highly anticipated, but I don't know if it was or not. You have... Okay. The concept... Let's talk about the concept.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have... The movie's called Grudge Match, and it's about two rival boxers.
Yes.
Starring Stallone and De Niro.
Correct.
Rocky Balboa and Jake LaMotta fighting each other.
Yes.
And the old thing is out there. You can say, oh, this isn't going to be good because they're old. Well, that's fucking bullshit because Rocky Balboa, which was the 6th Rocky movie, is one of the best of them.
Yes.
So, you can't fault them for that.
Nope.
You can maybe fault them, however, for making it a comedy that stars Kevin Hart.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, because I saw this was before anything was really posted on IMDb, just the title, the cast list, and the other information. So I was like, whoa, what is this? This sounds awesome. And I look, and I don't mean any ill will towards this guy, I'm just saying that's not what I was expecting to see. The director was Peter Siegel.
Yes.
I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to say that name. He did Tommy Boy and Anger Management.
Yep.
Now, mind you, Tommy Boy is a great movie, and Anger Management's really funny. But it's not exactly what I was thinking when I would think about Rocky Balboa fighting Jake LaMotta in a boxing ring.
Exactly.
So, fuck me, I guess. But, so, the movie begins, and I know immediately that we're in trouble. For starters, hold on.
Greatest opening of all time.
Hold on. Okay, let me start here. The movie opens, okay, and we have all these, they do the obvious thing where you have magazine articles with old pictures of Stallone and old pictures of De Niro from the 70s.
Yes.
And then you see them fighting. I don't know how this was done. I don't know if it was good or if it was bad. I really can't tell. I don't know if it was CG or if it was makeup or if it was some kind of effect. Regardless, the Jeff Bridges thing from Tron.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, but you do see the younger versions of them. Now, later on, you can kind of see, like, De Niro, like, hides himself with, like, a wig and sunglasses, but we do see them younger at the very beginning, and I don't really know how that was accomplished. Maybe it was lookalikes. I don't know.
It's possible.
Kind of like how they found that uncanny lookalike for Jack and Batman. Maybe one of those guys. And then they start to build up this return kind of with them.
Yeah.
They're talking about them, okay. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this opening title. Are you ready? I want to talk about this opening title.
Yes.
Like, I knew this was going to be the first thing I talked about as soon as I saw that fucking thing. So, here we go. Okay. You see them fighting, you see the ring announce. It starts right the fuck away.
Yeah.
There's no production company logos. We get Warner Brothers, and then we just go into it. Okay. So, we see them fighting, we see the ring announcers, we see excitement, there's quick cutting, we see them, they're saying, like, I'm gonna fight you, and like, oh my god, Stallone, he quit, he didn't take the fight, and they're doing this big build-up, and there's gonna be this massive thing. Even in the trailer, it was like it just came down, it was like, it's a De Niro versus Stallone, it's like Grudge Match in big letters, and it came down with a crunch and had stars and shit on the side, like a title belt.
Exactly.
And just a whole lot of shit is going on. And then they do this comedy bit with De Niro where, like, he did a Jock Itch ad or something.
Yeah.
And, like, whatever. And then we see De Niro at the bar, and he's like, hey, yeah, I didn't have Jock Itch, I'm just a really good actor. And it's like, wow, this is kind of going down really fast. And then all that excitement that was built up and all this awesomeness, we cut to the town, the quiet little town where everybody lives, and everybody lives quietly, and everybody lives happily. And then we just get Grudge Match in little white letters made on Microsoft Word, but through Windows Movie Maker. And that's our big opening scene.
Reminds me of Groundhog Day's opening credits too.
Oh my god. Okay.
With how basic it is.
So, then the movie continues, unfortunately. And we go into the introduction of what's going on here. Now, of course, as you know, because you saw the trailer, what we're just trying to do here is get a video game made.
Correct.
Starring Stallone's character and De Niro's character. They're just going to do the motion capture so you can get their actual punches in, so it's not like just some, oh, Razor didn't move that way, or oh, Kid didn't punch that way.
Exactly.
You can get their real, authentic moves.
Obviously.
So, Kevin Hart, who is the son of some big promoter that died or something.
He was the promoter of the original fight.
Yeah. Shows up at Stallone's house. They do the whole trailer bit.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart makes about 10 jokes about white people and or black people and or the difference between. Because that's just like, because you know Kevin Hart is short D.L. Hughley.
He's a poor man's Martin Lawrence, too.
Yeah. White versus black jokes is like all D.L. Hughley had.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's true.
I like Kings of Comedy. It's actually pretty good.
Well, regardless, okay, I saw Let Me Explain, which was Kevin Hart's concert movie.
Yeah.
And it was really good. He had this really likable quality about him. There was a real humanity in him that you don't see in his movies.
So his stand-up's different from his movies.
Yeah. That's where he's really... that's where he can really do his thing. Okay, that's the perfect way to go into this. Here's what Kevin Hart's characters do, especially in Grudge Match.
Yes.
The Grudge Match was actually me and Kevin Hart through the viewing of this movie. So, what Kevin Hart does is, he's like, you know that toy where Dennis Leary does a whole bit about this? Yes. You know that toy that kids have where you press a button and it makes them talk? And then after a while, the kid presses that button so much, the toy just starts to talk by itself. Kevin Hart is like a broken toy with a button on it that a kid pressed too much.
That's a good way to put it.
He will do these things. Here's what happens. Luckily, the second half isn't like this, but the first half is horrible about it. This is the movie where Rocky Balboa fights Jake LaMotta in a boxing ring.
Yes.
And the entire first hour is the fucking Kevin Hart show.
Yeah.
Who fucking does that? I'll tell you why, though. Kevin Hart is this big happening thing. Let's count them, shall we? Between last year and this year, we had Think Like a Man. We have Ride Along coming. We have About Last Night coming. We have a Think Like a Man sequel coming. We have this. He had his concert movie. He's just everywhere because he's this big happening thing right now that all the hip kids love. So, if we're going to make a movie where Rocky Balboa fights Jake LaMotta in a goddamn fucking boxing ring, we have to have something to bring in the rest of the audience. Because apparently only so many people want to see fucking Jake LaMotta and Rocky Balboa fight in a boxing ring. So, we gotta have our comedy relief character. Now, there's a difference between comedy relief and having a character that you just put front and center to do whatever the fuck.
Yep.
When he is in Stallone's kitchen in this first scene, that felt like unused takes. They were just going and going and going.
Yeah.
He felt like me doing a review. I felt like I was watching myself do a review or something. Because what he did was he sat down, he was trying to tell him about the boxing game, and then he went on some tirade, and then he went on the tirade again, and then he said anyway, and then got to his point. I'm pretty sure that footage was not supposed to be used.
Probably not.
If you edited, plenty of it wouldn't be seen here.
Exactly.
That is what watching Kevin Hart is like. Which I suppose is bad, because I'm basically telling the people watching these reviews, don't watch the movie because Kevin Hart sounds like me.
That's awesome, by the way.
But no. This is supposed to be the Stallone De Niro thing.
Correct.
But these Kevin Hart scenes just go on and on and on and on.
They're unneeded.
And he doesn't stop. And it's the same shit. It's, how many I'm not offended. I'm just saying, get new material. How many crazy white people jokes did Kevin Hart say in this movie? That was almost his whole script. And I'm pretty sure most of them were improv. So, okay. I think I've talked about Kevin Hart.
He comes off like he's trying... Okay, I love The Great White Hype, as you know. And The Great White Hype has the documentary feel into it as well, just kind of like Grudge Match does. At least parts of it.
That was only a couple of times.
Just parts of it. But he comes off to me like... His dad obviously would be Sam Jackson's character, which was the big promoter. But he comes off more like a poor man's version of Jamie Foxx's character, who is wanting to be the promoter, but he's not there.
I want to talk about this joke.
Okay.
Obviously, when Kevin Hart's not on about his race, he's on about his height.
Yes.
And he gets mad at Alan Arkin for doing that later, but fuck it.
Yeah.
There is this part in this kitchen, this same kitchen scene I'm talking about. This is the Kevin Hart sin. This is what he does wrong. The director, too, and the editor. So many people could have fixed this.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what you do. Stallone has some good lines in this movie, and Stallone just has this great likability about him, and he can deliver a really funny line. There is one point in this movie where Kevin Hart goes on this whole thing, and then he asks him something. He asks him if he has jumper cables. And Stallone owns the scene. All he does is just look at him and say, no, and then he walks away. That was the funniest part of that scene.
I agree.
But here's what I'm talking about. Okay. You make the high joke and you leave.
Yeah.
That's the rule. This is what happens. You got Kevin Hart standing, you got Stallone standing. And Kevin Hart's doing his thing. And then Stallone just says, you know what, I'd take you down a peg or two, but it looks like somebody beat me to it.
Yeah. That's funny.
We can have Kevin Hart just... and then go on with what he's saying. But no, this sends Kevin Hart in about 30 seconds of pointing out that it's a high joke. 30 seconds is a long time to tirade about a joke we already know what it is.
You always
just to tell us what
wanted
that joke
more.
is. Okay. So anyway, and he just keeps coming back. There's all these scenes where I don't know if they couldn't afford a set or what was going on, but most of Kevin Hart's scenes consist of laying on or standing beside this yellow car in a motel parking lot.
Yep.
That's just where he spends all his damn time.
He spent all his money on his new vehicle and he has no place to live now.
In the hotel, maybe?
That's exactly. He pays by the month.
He's always in the parking lot. And we do see him inside the motel, you know.
That's true.
I switched from motel to hotel back to motel. You didn't see that.
It's definitely a motel for sure.
Okay, so I guess we'll go into all the old jokes. Because that's what this whole thing's about.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about Rocky Balboa. I was afraid Rocky Balboa was going to be chock full of that. But they only did it maybe a couple of times. And then the movie went on as it was.
Yeah.
There's one joke to me that really stood out. Which is... you have your different generations of old in this movie. You have the representation of the young and hip crowd. That's cis Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
And then you have the old people. That's Stallone and De Niro. And then you have a whole new generation of old with Alan Arkin.
Yeah.
Where the old people think Alan Arkin's old. And the way we establish this, which makes no sense to me, I don't know, maybe there's people like this, I don't know, but it made no sense to me whatsoever. We have to establish that they're old again. Okay, we're about half an hour in now, but we haven't established enough yet that they're old. So, we have to have a YouTube joke. So, they record them having the fight in the studio with the video game. And then they go outside, and Kevin Hart's trying to show them that the fight went viral. Apparently 5 minutes later. Whatever.
Okay.
So he says, you guys went viral, and he's showing De Niro and Stallone the video. And he's like, y'all don't know what viral is? And he says, y'all don't know what YouTube is? And they just they're clueless. Okay?
Yeah.
So later on, to establish that Alan Arkin's old, Alan Arkin's so old that the old people think he's old. They're walking through, and Arkin says, I got this in reverse actually. Arkin says something about an iPad.
Yeah.
And Stallone says, I already got a couch or something like that. And then Alan Arkin says, you don't know what an iPad is? And Stallone says, of course I know what an iPad is. And he does in fact know what an iPad is.
Yeah.
I'm sure maybe there could be something lost in here, but how does Stallone know what an iPad is but doesn't know what YouTube is? Or what viral videos are?
That's a good point. He also doesn't have a TV.
Yeah.
'Cause he's afraid he'll see a boxing match.
Well, you know.
That's what
Okay.
he says.
Okay. Now, as far as them being old also, it's interesting to see De Niro do this. Because De Niro's a very reserved person.
Completely.
So he's either doing, really serious roles, or he's in comedies, but he's playing the straight part. Like the Meet the Parents movies.
Correct.
And here he actually gets to do, comedy stuff. And I was because the way actors can tend to get when they get older. Mm-hmm. And I was really impressed by something that De Niro did, and then something in the scene totally threw me off. It's funny to me, but it shouldn't be in there. There's this moment where it's the, I forget where they are, but it's the two of them and fucking Kevin Hart again. And they're talking about, I don't even remember what they were talking about, but they were talking really goddamn fast. And they were talking about, like, different various ways to do things. Like, oh, yeah, there can't be money, there can't be a match. It's that whole thing.
No money, no ticket, no fight, no ticket. What's the other way?
De Niro gives this monologue. This really long, fast, tongue-twisting monologue.
Yeah, it was fun.
And he goes through it flawlessly. But then I started to wonder how many takes that took. Because after he said it, the scene didn't cut. It stayed on Stallone to say another line and for Kevin Hart to talk to them. And you could see the look on De Niro's face, like he was really amped up. Like that was like the 50th take and he had finally gotten it. And he was getting ready to celebrate that he finally got it. But it's like he was waiting for the scene to cut.
Yeah.
He was like, I finally got that, when then it cuts, I'm never doing that again. You shouldn't be able to see that kind of stuff in there, even though it's entertaining to point out.
I agree with that.
Okay. Let's talk about Kim Basinger.
You and the actress' performances again.
Oh, God. First and foremost, I don't know if you remember this or not. Most people don't. Average filmgoers don't remember. Hollywood doesn't remember. I'd be surprised if she remembers. Are you aware that Kim Basinger has an Oscar that she won for LA Confidential in 1997?
Yeah.
She only would have won it in 1998, but it's for 1997. Okay. Kim Basinger has an Oscar.
Yeah.
Okay. Much like two other people in this movie, but they get to do something. We bring in Oscar winner Kim Basinger. Okay. We don't give her a credit. The trailer said, De Niro versus Stallone, Grudge Match. And then that weird-ass title came up that said Kevin Hart and Alan Arkin.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
We don't care that Oscar winner Kim Basinger is in this movie, apparently.
No.
And neither did the writers, neither did the director, neither did anybody involved. I don't know how much she cared. She wasn't letting on. Oscar winner Kim Basinger plays this part that requires her to do the female part.
Yeah.
She exists to make sure that her love interest and or her son don't do things. She is there so they can do things they're maybe not supposed to, and she can tell them to stop that and not do that. And then, and I swear to God, okay. Oh God. Oh my God. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh God, okay. Kim Basinger's part is, she was Stallone's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like madly in love with him.
Yep.
But she got jealous one day and banged De Niro and ended up getting pregnant and having John Bernthal.
Yes.
She didn't have a baby, she had John Bernthal. God, that's impressive.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so he still had his facial hair from The Wolf of Wall Street when he came out, but he shaved it for the movie. Okay, so what's clearly going to happen here, she's going to come back into one of their lives. Now, of course, as you can see, they're kind of trying to do the warrior thing.
Yeah.
They're trying to make us root for both of them.
Yeah.
However, it's very, very clear that Stallone is more of the hero,
yes,
and De Niro is more of like the instigator.
Mm-hmm.
So, we realize right away, we hear about her before we see her. When you so much as hear that she's involved before she's even in the movie, you know the ending of her storyline.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, here's what happened. She came into the movie, and she was like, I was like, hey, I remember Kim Basinger from the trailer. Maybe she's going to do something that's not the girlfriend. Maybe the girlfriend's some unseen character. Nope.
She's just a reporter that was at the press conference, maybe?
Yeah, Vicky Vale still lives.
Exactly.
But nope. No. She is that girl. That same girl. And as soon as you may think I'm kidding, but I've seen so many movies now, you can't deny it. Okay? As soon as Kim Basinger walked on that screen, and Stallone acted like he was a little mad at her, but then asked her how she was doing, I swear to God and all that is holy, I had already imagined in my head, exactly as it appeared on screen, the walk in the park and the dinner. In my head, before they ever happened, before there was any clue they were going to happen, I saw them all the way down to the goddamn fucking wine glasses with water in them. It's all there from beginning to end as soon as he turned around and asked her how she was doing. And you have to wait for this shit to unravel. Every single time she was on screen, you know exactly where the scene's going to go, and you're left sitting there waiting for it to happen until the scene ends. And we can see De Niro do some drunk bit. And they do that bullshit where in every single bad comedy, you have to have that dramatic moment. And if you're following two different characters and two different storylines, somehow miraculously, both of their problems are going to happen at the same time. They're two totally different, completely unrelated problems that are going to happen at the exact same time, at the exact same part of the movie, and they're going to be resolved at the exact same time in the exact same part of the movie.
Yeah.
And there's going to be that time where the fight's called off, even though we see them in the goddamn ring at the end of the trailer.
Yeah.
And you clearly know this movie's not going to end without that fight.
No.
But no, we absolutely, positively must have that scene where the fight is called off for like a night.
Yeah.
It's like a teenage breakup, that fight.
That's giving it too much credit.
Okay. Another problem I had was, I don't know what the fuck Peter Segal was on when he directed this movie, but did you happen to sense a really awkwardness in the way this movie was shot? Like, there are scenes that are just kind of weird. And they're like, it's almost like they were filming rehearsals, and they didn't care about... There's this scene in the parking lot, okay, where De Niro and John Bernthal are talking about their deal, about how he's going to be his trainer.
Yeah.
And they're doing shaky cam.
Yeah, it's very weird.
What the fuck was that? Okay. Having said all that, this movie's not without laughs.
No, it's pretty funny at the second half.
And it's really not as bad as some of those scenes would let on.
No.
Okay? It's not like... I was never like, getting out of my seat. There was that one time, you know, the day before, but... I'll go ahead and say that really fast. We saw this right after Wolf of Wall Street on Christmas, but we got about 45 minutes into it and I couldn't take it anymore. It mainly had to do with being tired. And I was just like, normally I can stick it out if I'm tired, but for some reason, 45 minutes into this movie, knowing we had over an hour left, I said I had to leave because I just couldn't do it.
You did the same thing with Saving Mr. Banks, too.
Well, here it was more of a quality thing, though. But it's not that bad. I think me being tired had a lot to do with why I hated it so much the first time. The first hour the first time. You know, it does have... The characters have their likable moments. I think Stallone is always likable. Mm-hmm. Like, I love Stallone movies, no matter how bad they are, because he's always, you know... People like to say, oh, he's Stallone, what a shitty actor, he just blows shit up. But he's, you know... There's a reason he got famous, and that's because he was so likable in Rocky. And he's managed to carry that likability through all these years, and he still has it. And of course, De Niro's De Niro. Everybody loves De Niro when he's not, you know, doing bottom-of-the-barrel shit. This isn't quite bottom-of-the-barrel shit, so don't worry about it. There's a few things. Like, there's a scene where he and Stallone have to sing the national anthem.
Yeah.
That scene is fine.
Yep.
There's this dinner scene. A dinner scene that actually worked, unlike the other one. It is Kim Basinger, John Bernthal's kid, and De Niro, and they're all trying to have, like, a family dinner. They look like they're at a fucking IHOP, though.
Yeah, kind of.
And it looks like lunchtime, but they said dinner. And there were a couple of funny lines here, like when they were talking about... Bernthal was trying to figure out why she hates De Niro so much. And she tried to cover the kid's ears, and she said, well, because, he slept with this girl, and, he slept with my friend, he slept with this person. And then the kid's like, I can still hear you, and then she finally just lets it go, and then the kid's like, you must be awfully tired to be sleeping with those people all the time. And then later on in that scene, there's a really funny line that Bernthal has where he says, she's talking, obviously, she loves Stallone, she banged De Niro, she wants Stallone, it's a boxer thing. And Bernthal says, why didn't you hook up with George Foreman? We'd still be rolling in that grill money right now.
She tries to get him to get the kid to leave the table, and he's like, "Oh, this is the best dinner conversation I've had in years."
Which was where it was revealed at the dinner, apparently.
And that's definitely a place that would not be serving wine, so I don't know where that's headed.
Well, they tried to give Basinger some personality a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Like the scene where they're in the park doing their thing, where they're reminiscing. And then finally, she looks down at the pigeons, and she's like, we're really pressing the shit out of these pigeons. And then she, later on, the thing with the waiter at the restaurant in Kevin Hart, that was funny. Where he relays the call.
Oh my god, that was funny.
So yeah, it's not, a dead zone of laughs or anything, but you have better options.
Oh, yeah.
I'd send you to Walter Mitty before I'd send you to Grudge Match.
Yeah, same here.
But it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's not as bad as it looked. So there's a shitload of montages. Montages, and the callbacks.
I want to talk about the cameos, too.
You have the callbacks. Those are kind of spoilery.
No. I'm going to talk about those. I want to talk about a couple of the awesome supporting cast.
Oh, yeah. You have the part where he drinks the eggs, and of course Stallone of all people is about to puke because he drank eggs.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene where he's getting ready to punch the maid, and then Arkin says, "Hey, what are you doing? We're here for lunch." Ha ha ha.
De Niro comes out to ship it out to Boston.
Yeah, that was weird.
I like that.
Because you have, De Niro's known for his Scorsese collaborations.
Yes.
Bernthal is currently in a Scorsese movie that came out the same day as Grudge Match.
Yep.
We needed one more dose of Scorsese in Grudge Match. And there it was. Okay. What did you want to add?
I'll talk about some of the cameos. Obviously, you know how big of a Super Dave fan I am. Don Lake, who played Donald Glands on Super Dave, he's in this movie. LL Cool J is actually a boxing trainer in this movie, too.
That's not even a cameo, that's a full part. I just forgot to mention him because he doesn't really do anything.
Trying to make sure.
He's in the trailer.
Yeah, he's definitely in the trailer, but it was one of those times I wasn't sure it was him. Actually. And I was like, who
else looks like LL Cool J?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And dresses like that.
There's some...
Michael Buffer.
Yeah, Michael Buffer's in it.
Says it. Did they really give him $10 million?
They had to, obviously.
But here, okay, let me talk about that real quick.
Please do.
That kind of pissed me off. There's this big thing, obviously. Supposedly, you have to pay Michael Buffer $10 million to say, let's get ready to rumble.
I don't know if it's $10 million.
That's what I heard.
I don't think it's $10 million. There's no way.
Well, get this.
We're going to find out how much
So generally what he does is he says variations of it, so he doesn't have to get paid that much. But he said it. He said the phrase. But here's the thing, is after that, doing this big triumphant thing, where you have Michael Buffer saying, let's get ready to rumble, the camera was barely on him. It was like a faraway shot. And it was just like, people were like still arriving in the arena, like, why waste that?
That's a big deal, too.
You have, I'm going to say this one more time, you have Michael Buffer standing in the middle of the ring where you're going to have Rocky Balboa and Jake LaMotta fighting each other.
Yes!
How much more epic can you possibly get? And you shoot it from a distance.
It's $5 million according to this.
$5 million. That's still a lot.
That's still too much for saying one phrase. But here's the thing, though. There's an awesome... I'm not going to give it away. There's something really entertaining after the credits. We'll just put it that way.
It's after... There's credits, there's a scene, there's more credits, and then there's the second scene.
Yeah. There's a lot of cameos in the movie. One of the really awesome parts of the movie that I really enjoyed was they go to a UFC fight. And of course, this also shows how out of touch they are with everything, how mixed martial arts is so much bigger than boxing now. And they start putting it down.
Back in my day, we had a word for guys who fought with kicks. Girls.
So this was hilarious because I started talking about wrestling, and this is where, of course, I got interested in this, and they were like putting it under and everything, and they were putting under MMA completely, and then of course, to further accentuate their point, they bring out Chael Sonnen, who MMA fans would know as the biggest wrestling mark on the UFC roster. And he was calling them old, of course. He's like, take your best shot. And Stallone knocks him out, and that pretty much creates like more build for the match. As a matter of fact, it was supposed to be like, they were trying to get like a 5,000 seat arena, and they ended up selling out an 18,000 seat arena because all these viral videos were pushing this fight more and more. And yet Kevin Hart still just chilled out in his yellow vehicle at the motel, day in, day out.
Alright.
Yeah, it was pretty good for what it was. I mean, there's a lot worse you could watch right now.
I wouldn't call it good.
But there's a lot more worse than this right in theaters right now.
It just depends.
I can say there are people that will enjoy this movie. And I can say there are people that won't enjoy this movie.
Well, I will say this. The first time we were in there was a lot of people in there.
Dead silence.
There was a lot of people in there, and it was a big theater.
Yeah.
And it was so awkward and silent. And it was like... surely you've had that situation where you're sitting in a full theater for a movie that's not funny. And I felt like I was watching Old Dogs again.
Oh, yeah.
The Old Dogs theater was quiet. So quiet. All the rampant editing and the screaming and the running amok. Just a silent theater. Completely. But the problem is, when you're sitting in a theater for an unfunny movie, surely you've had those moments where you have those few people in the audience that basically say, you know what, I came to this movie to laugh. I'm going to laugh come hell or high water.
Yeah.
So you start getting these charity laughs.
Yep.
And it's really...
Am I imagining things? I didn't really hear much laughter in our theater today.
There were only 2 other people in there.
Yeah, but
you
quiet. Still can hear people. Even if
the one woman down here like chuckled at something. That's the only time I heard anything.
Yeah.
So...
Would you say a mild recommendation?
Not really. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's not as bad as it looks. And
there's worse in theaters right now, but it's still there's too many. There's more bad than good about it.
All the wasted opportunities is the worst thing about it.
This movie should have been a drama, and it would have been. I think it would have been great.
It should have been more like in the vein of The Fighter, but it tried to be. I think almost intentionally, you could say it tried to be a spoof of The Fighter.
What about Play to the Bone?
Yeah, I got a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
Probably The Bone's more of a road trip movie though. But and they were friends. But yeah, it does. Your mind does go there.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's go next to 47 Ronin, a movie that was supposed to come out in November 2012. Here it is now.
Over a year later.
Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have seen it in 3D because I thought maybe this would have been one of the ones that maybe benefited, but we didn't.
It was a time situation. Yeah.
But it probably works better. Like the 3D probably makes it look worse. Not. Hold on. Let me rephrase that. The 3D probably makes it worse because 3D tends to. Sometimes 3D tends to make me not like a movie a little more because all I do is sit the entire movie fuming about why they did it in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably better to see this in 2D. Basically, it is people kept asking me what it was. The only thing I could think of to say was a Keanu Reeves samurai movie. He's not even a samurai. They make that perfectly clear. Like, the other guys will kill you if you call his character a samurai.
His crew, the people that he's with are basically disgraced samurai, and they won't even call them that anymore.
Well, I was very interested at the get-go because I hadn't seen something like this before. Maybe a little bit with when they used Mars for Doom, but they play with the Universal logo again. This movie does one of those shots where it zooms in on the Earth and then we go into the area. The way they did that shot was the Universal logo comes up, and then instead of fading out and then starting over again, the Universal words just go away. and then the credits come up over the universal Earth that's still there, and now it's the Earth and it's within the movie.
Of course, I didn't get to see that because I was fixing an issue.
I don't know what kind of reaction this review's gonna get because of things I've been hearing. I haven't really heard really any actual comments on it, but I heard two things a little discouraging.
Okay.
Number one, the Razzie long lists are out.
Yeah, I saw on IMDb a minute ago.
And this is on it. And secondly, apparently people are expecting it to be bad. I don't know if I'm going to be alone on this or not.
Might be.
I'm going to get in so much shit for something I'm about to say then. No, this movie isn't bad at all. In fact, it's good. There are a couple of touchy things, like, some of it looks a little fake. Like, there are a couple of creatures that are obvious CG, and there's a couple of establishing shots. A lot of the establishing shots are great and magnificent, but some of them do look fake in CG. CG-Y. But for the most part, I think this goes into, I don't know how many times I've said this year now, but I just have to keep saying it. I think Keanu is really underrated. Mm-hmm. He's not the best actor, of course, but he really
doesn't have to be sometimes.
I really don't. Yeah, there's nothing. There's only a couple of times where I've thought he was like bad. So, and this is just he does what he needs to do. This is not an acting show. Most of his movies aren't acting showcases. Give the guy a fucking break. It is very effective. I mean, this was interesting because people weren't sure what this was going to be, because it started like when people heard about it, they thought it was going to be like The Last Samurai.
Yeah.
And then when it wasn't until the trailer came out, people realized it was more like in the style of 300. So, yeah, with those ingredients, I can kind of understand maybe somebody saying, you know what, I'll bet that's not very good. But, I went in thinking it was going to be the highlight of the day. Yesterday it actually was, but we only saw 2 movies.
Yeah.
But I was actually surprised by how much I liked this. And how this actually blew my mind more than anything. This, once again, I may be alone in this, I don't know, with the way people are talking, but this movie is really, really well made. Like, it's really well shot. And some of the camera tricks, while maybe feeling a little obvious, everything seems to work. But I think where the trouble lies is it's not the movie people think it is.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where I'm going to get in trouble. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here it comes. I'm going to be assassinated by the internet today. They're going to come to my house and they're going to beat me to death. 47 Ronin is not really much of an action movie.
No, it's not.
There are action scenes, and when those action scenes come, they really fucking bring it. They're fantastic, the action scenes, but there are really not many of them there. The rest of it, honestly, I was reminded of a Kurosawa movie. That's actually what I felt while watching it. Like, the big shots, and just the themes in general, and the way the characters are the way they are, and all that shit. Mm. Everything felt like I was watching like Rain again or something. And the internet has officially murdered me. So, and I just got a lot of people's hopes up. But the thing is, I just really was not expecting this from this movie. And the plot stems from, obviously it's a vengeance movie.
Yeah.
And it's based on, I think there were like 1 or 2 movies, or it might have been one movie broken up into 2 parts or something, from like the 40s, that the story was told in. Basically, their master is killed in this very elaborate yet evidence-less plan. by there's a character played by Rinko Kikuchi from Babel and Pacific Rim. I will say a complaint is that Rinko Kikuchi can't really she's I like her, but she's not very good at evil.
No.
So, but you know that's we only see her so many times, and we only have to buy that so much. But there's just it doesn't reach greatness, but there is a greatness lurking in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel it rearing its head every so often, and I think that's a lot more than most people see in it. Apparently, if it's on the Razzie short list, I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know if it's just maybe people predetermining that haven't seen it, or if it's just people who it's not what they're expecting. I don't know, but this is just really this is definitely gonna be underrated and underseen for sure. And I just liked it's one of those movies that I just like looking at in general, because everything is just so on this epic scale. Some of these shots, and it's just awesome. This movie is fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. I don't care the reaction it gets. I did wonder a little bit. It is very PG-13. People get sliced up, and there's not an ounce of blood anywhere to be found.
Yeah.
I wonder how it would have, if it would have differed at all. I don't know. It's really not that big of a difference, but how the movie would have worked with being more like 300 and being blood drenched, in that really over the top fakey fashion, but in a fun way.
It definitely wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been PG-13.
Yeah.
I think it might have worked better because it would have brought a different crowd that wouldn't have came to it otherwise. Some people do like movies that are rated R. If they want an action movie, they want a hard R-rated action movie. Some people will shy away from PG-13 action movies, even though they are just as good most of the time.
Yeah, I would, I would strongly recommend it. It's just a matter of, I don't know if it's what people want. If it's what they're, I don't know. But I was extremely taken by it. Mm. And I would probably see it again. And I would recommend it highly, but that depends on maybe now that I've warned you that it's not this hardcore action movie completely, maybe that'll help. I don't know.
It's possible.
We've now passed an hour and a half, so let's get going to our limited releases now. Really quickly. I didn't take notes for Dallas Buyers Club, so we'll do this quickly. Obviously, Dallas Buyers Club is this heavy Oscar contender where McConaughey is without a doubt going to get nominated, and Jared Leto is probably going to win.
Yeah, good possibility. Good possibility.
There's probably not much that you don't know about this movie now, so I'll just go right into opinions. McConaughey is great. A lot of people apparently find the weight loss distracting because it's so apparent. But he's able to. What was great about him was he did so much research and put so much effort into it. Is most actors who would just kind of throw this away would probably stop at the weight loss and just make that do the part for them. Yeah. But McConaughey is just totally and completely inside this guy now. So next would be Jared Leto. Yes. I was going to go to Jennifer Garner, but we'll jump straight ahead to Jared Leto. I was saying this on the ride back from Athens after we saw it. I don't know if you agree with me. I don't know if anybody else would agree with me or not. If I went into Dallas Buyers Club not knowing who Jared Leto was, maybe even if I did know who Jared Leto was, but I didn't know anything about the character, and I just saw I saw Rayon on the surface. I possibly would not have known that it wasn't a woman.
It's a complete transformation, too.
And there's this, he pretty much has so many scenes, but one of them that stands out, I don't know how spoiler this is, so I'll be as vague as possible. Oddly enough, what I thought was his best scene, and what I'm hearing a lot of people think is his best scene, is the one that's going to really propel him to awards glory, is there is a segment towards the end where the makeup and the wigs come off, and he puts a suit on.
Yes.
And basically has to beg for something that will help them, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a true story. You can Wikipedia it. It'll tell you everything.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, I know. Just in case, I guess.
I gotcha.
I would give him the Oscar alone for the delivery of Toodaloo. When he leaves the car.
Yeah.
That delivery alone, I was like, you know what? Just give it to him. But no, the scene in the office, in the suit, with the no makeup, is probably going to propel him to everything he needs.
Yeah.
Jennifer Garner is surprisingly underrated. A lot of people like to bash Jennifer Garner for some reason.
I don't understand why.
I suppose her range isn't much. Maybe that's why she gets a lot of hate. But she does just fine here.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say like, "Oh my God, she's awful. She's raspy." It's shut up. That's really overkill.
Yeah,
because she's fine. I think it's because you have the greatness that is McConaughey and Leto, and everybody else is just kind of there to just kind of be background noise for them to do what they're doing. Steve Zahn only had a couple of scenes. He's like McConaughey's cop friend.
Yes.
You have Dennis O'Hare from American Horror Story. He was the burn guy in the first season, and he's like the creepy riffraff butler in the third season. He's the doctor that's basically denying McConaughey everything. He's basically like an antagonist, kind of.
Yes.
I guess, as close as we'll get to one. There's a really funny casting choice here with, I did not realize that was Dallas Roberts, and now it's so obvious.
Yeah.
There's a really funny casting choice here with Griffin Dunne as like this doctor in Mexico that's doing like, I didn't even know it was him at first. It took a long time for me to realize it, but he's got like kind of a hippie look, and he's got like the shorts. He looks like he's on fucking vacation when he's in the hospital. And he's basically the guy that helps supply McConaughey with the drugs that everybody needs for him to start the Dallas Buyers Club. The way this movie's made is a little off-putting sometimes. Like, I suppose the director kind of like wanted to bring us into the lifestyle a little bit.
Yeah.
With the way it was shot. But some of it seemed really a little much, and some of it seemed a little off. And it kind of, I don't know, maybe it tried to be a little too flashy than it needed to be. Like, it's a really simple story, and we didn't really need it to be told in much of a frenetic fashion. When he hears, like, a ringing in his head, we don't necessarily have to hear it every time. But, and there's something, I don't know. Some people think it's going to run for picture, and some people think it's one of the best movies of the year. I think of it more as strictly a performance piece. The movie as itself doesn't have the best flow, but it still manages to make, all these characters, likable and human and people you sympathize for and all that.
If it runs for picture, I would say it would be our bottom choice.
Yeah.
But I still can see it there. Little preview of tomorrow's video for you guys right there.
So, I would definitely recommend it for the performances, but as a movie itself, I wouldn't expect a whole lot.
I really liked it, actually. It's been resonating in my head ever since we got out of the theater.
Now, our last movie, finally, is one of the best movies of the year. Which I did not expect to say in the first review. Good God, this movie is just wonderful.
Yeah, it's an awesome film.
We're ending on Philomena, which is the Judi Dench award vehicle of the year.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
But there's just so much. I was worried going in because it's another one of those movies that is so goddamn British, just British everywhere. I could taste tea while watching this movie. No, but all joking aside,
I'm laughing for a different reason, and you know why.
You're sick, man.
You said tea. That's the first thing that jumps to mind when I say that now.
Okay, but no, I was afraid this movie was just kind of be, you know,
just there.
We'll watch it. Judi Dench will probably be okay, and then we'll leave.
The Last Station.
Yeah, basically.
That's a really good comparison.
But this movie is not even like that.
No.
This let me start off by saying this immediately. All year I've been wanting Sandra Bullock to win for Gravity. But honestly, if I were to choose Best Actress myself from any possibility this year, not just potential nominees, any actress performance this year, I would choose Judi Dench. Made all the more by... You gotta remember this. Judi Dench has so many great scenes in this movie and so many deliveries, and she can just still, bring it like anybody else.
She can.
If I remember correctly, she's still,
Winless?
No.
Obviously not.
She is, last I heard, she's, practically going blind.
Mm-hmm.
And has to have her scripts read to her.
That's correct.
And she remembers them that way. Making these performances she's been giving all the more insanely powerful and amazing.
Correct.
Normally, I'm not really much of a fan of hers. It's not that I dislike her, it's just that she doesn't really... She's just never really, made a huge impact on me, except maybe, Nose on a Scandal.
Yeah.
That was wild. But no, just this whole movie is just great from beginning to end, and I really couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I just really couldn't, because it's actually, it's a very heavy, dramatic story, but it's also extremely funny.
Yeah.
Which should have been a sign, because the co-writer is Steve Coogan, who's also the other star of it.
Yeah.
The BAFTAs are the only one that realizes he's not supporting, apparently. He is so not supporting.
Yeah.
It's also worth mentioning real quick. This is another one of those movies that battled the MPAA. It was, it said 3 times in it, and they got rated R. And she says a couple of parts of the body, too.
Her delivery is priceless when she does, too. I still laugh at that.
But they managed to get it on appeal. No, at first I was a little off. Okay, I won't say it was amazing from beginning to end, because the beginning threw me off a little bit. Obviously the story is, Philomena got pregnant at a really, really young age, and she was at this convent or whatever. And when they found out she was pregnant, they kicked her out and they took the child away from her, and she pretty much never saw it. Only occasionally. And then the last time she saw him, he was 3. Well, the beginning, I think that could have just been told. Well, that's the thing. We see it and then it's told to us. And I was really off-put by us seeing it in flashbacks, even though it was an opening credit sequence. Still, it was kind of weird. And the way she would actually see flashbacks of being there and seeing, driving away and all that. I think the whole backstory could have just been dialogue. It probably wasn't necessary for us to actually, have to go into it.
I can understand that.
It's just a pacing thing, or a flow thing. And the fact that it's weird, okay. Steve Coogan's character, Martin Sixsmith, is this guy that comes into her story. And the start of the story is her flashback that happens over the opening credits. I thought that was a really weird-ass way to do it. Did we get Coogan's whole introduction, and then we get hers, and then we're going back to him? It felt like 2 totally, completely different places to be, and I don't know why they were trying to go back and forth with that.
It also felt like they were going in a different direction with his character pertaining to her as well.
Yeah, because he actually meets her through her daughter at this get-together or whatever. And then she's the one that relays the story to him, and he initially doesn't want to do it because it's human interest, and that's not what he does.
He used to work for the BBC, and he lost his job. This is said a billion times, too, that he loses his job, so...
So, and then he takes the story, and then they go from there. And it's, if you don't know the true story, which I didn't, obviously, it's, you don't know which way it's going to go.
Mm.
There's, like, so many ways it could go, and then, like, halfway through it goes a certain way, and then it's just, it's a very, I don't want to say anything else there.
Like I said, I really thought they were building to something that never happened, so it was good.
Well, I will tell you,
in that way.
The way they were driving around and looking for him, and the way they were looking stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
I told you in the theater, and I wrote it down just to be sure.
Yes, this is so true, too.
Philomena is like the girl with the dragon tattoo without the rape and the murder.
That's very true.
And without a girl with a dragon tattoo. Without sex, too. So, yeah, I was really surprised by how funny the movie was, and it's mainly her.
Mm.
Like, Steve Coogan's actually playing the straight part.
Yeah, it's really good, too. Especially after something like The Trip.
But then, she has a few scenes where she, like...
has to break down, and...
Yeah. I'm trying not to say, like, a whole lot.
Well, I'm trying not to say anything either.
And yeah, I also love Coogan's character, though. Like, there's this moment at the very beginning, still during the beginning credits, where they're in a church, and they're, like, watching something, and then he gets up and leaves. And then his wife comes out and gets mad at him, and she's like, "Why did you walk out of the church? You're embarrassing." And he says, "Well, I don't believe in God, and I think you can tell." So, which is like a whole maze of thoughts there, by the way. Let's go ahead and talk about this particularly humorous scene where normally I'd be offended by this, but actually it's actually more scary because of how true it is. Martin and Philomena come to America.
Mm.
And Philomena really doesn't know much about America.
No.
So there's got to be something American that puts her in the American spirit of what, like, American people like. So she's in the hotel room and she's going through the channels.
This is hilarious. We were the only ones in the theater during this, by the way.
And she comes across Big Mama's house.
Yeah, she does.
I thought it was just a joke. I didn't know it was going to go further, but she turns on the TV and we're only looking at her face, but you can hear the TV say, "Martin Lawrence is going undercover."
Which made you laugh immediately.
And then I love that she really, because they're talking about going out, and then she says, "Well, we can go out or we can stay in and watch Big Mama's house. They were showing some of it on the television notes there."
It's like the choice of using Family Matters in The Wolf of Wall Street.
So yeah, I can't recommend this movie enough. It's Stephen Frears who did The Queen.
Yep.
And he's also done darker movies like The Grifters. So,
this will be hard to find if you're in a smaller town, though.
It actually comes out on DVD really soon.
Oh.
Like next month. Or like in a few weeks even. So, yeah. So, that's an extremely high recommendation. It is one of the best movies of the year.
Completely agreed.
So,
I will give you an official release date, actually. As of this moment, it is supposed to be out in March.
which usually means it'll be the
February. Yeah. So check for it sometime in February.
Okay. We're finally done here.
Okay, this is the final review video of 2013. You happy
And
about
it has
that?
the length to match it.
Yeah, it really does. Are you happy with everything we've got this year?
Meaning?
Are you happy with the way everything came out?
Depends on what you're talking about, but you know what? I'll say sure.
Good answer. So next week, I honestly don't know where we're going at this point.
There might be a couple of weeks before we get another review video, because nothing generally comes out the first week of January.
And I saw the magical...
And the marked ones comes out by itself. I was thinking maybe just pushing it to the next week, so we have like a full video.
Ride Along?
Because nothing
No,
else...
it's Hercules and Lone Survivor.
Ride Along comes out then too.
No, it's the third week.
Oh,
I know because we have advanced bookings for it. And then
I think, regardless, just to say it now, I think we're not going to have a review video for a while, because I think since the marked ones comes out by itself, and nothing generally comes out at the beginning of January, we'll just take the marked ones and put it with the ones that come out that next week.
And then we've got Inside Llewyn Davis and Nebraska that are coming to Athens very soon.
And
Then
her probably soon too.
And August is questionable when we're going to get it, but we should be getting it
the end
soon.
of January, I think, is this wide release.
Yeah, so not the last video you're going to see in this year, no, but the last review video. We got one more Versus coming up this coming Sunday, and it's one I've been wanting to do for a long time. The Oscar prediction video is going to be tomorrow, so we're getting ready to go shoot that in a little bit. So, parting words for 2013 and the movie reviews?
None.
Enjoy yourself a movie over the holidays. We'll see you in 2014.